All right, let's have you keep coming down, actually, co-pilot.
Are we expecting the chain to be out toward the southwest?
Not really sure.
Okay. In several thousand feet of water.
Let's have you come to 25.
Copy
that. Coming to 25.
Led by Duke University and the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. The wreck was discovered with sonar that was looking for a missing instrument. What was found was a section of anchor chain visible in the sonar, which when dived in the research submersible Alvin.
Coming to an easy stop at 25.
Copy. Easy stop 25.
The wreck is largely buried in the mud. That is, those pieces of it, which had not been consumed by marine organisms.
And sitting pretty
For
at
those of you
25.
who haven't looked at a shipwreck in the deep ocean before, clearly all of us have an image of what one should look like, something like Titanic, a metal hull perhaps rusting in the darkness. But with earlier ships, particularly those built with soft woods, even harder woods, marine organisms, much like termites on land, can consume that wood, leaving only a ghostly outline. A few years ago,
Bridge, this is RV Nav.
On this dive and on this call, participated in dives in
just wanted to let you know that the vehicles are approaching bottom.
I'm backing some.
So if we can please verify that the center of rotation on the ship is about the A-frame.
I will switch that now.
Copy. And we'll go ahead and say that our bailout direction is toward the southwest, so you can actually just come ahead from where the ship is pointing now.
Okay, so bailout has been set up here to southwest, and I just shifted the center of rotation to the
Titan cam, please.
Copy. Thanks, Bridge.
Yeah, thank you.
But what's lying inside the ship does give us a sense of what we're looking at, and that is a ship that many of us believe dates to the 19th century, the early 1800s, maybe to the mid-1800s, because we see chain plates, which are features that were used to help support a mast and its rigging,
down slightly.
and those are of a style that came into use roughly around 1825.
I am going to come to port. I'm going to push out sort of 315 degree-ish. As I do that, go ahead and bring your heading to starboard.
Okay, bring it to starboard.
So let me give me a second to make my move first.
On a mapping cruise of this wreck, the most important thing to do for us, much like detectives at the scene of a crime, is we're going to approach this like a CSI team. Before we touch anything, before we stop and take a look at any
You're clear to make your turn.
We're going to slowly, relying on the expertise of the crew on board the ship, and in particular, the skilled operators of remotely operated vehicles.
That's just the heading I'm going to cross into. Your heading is going to be closer to 045.
So that our colleagues at the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management can create a virtual copy of this wreck in 3 dimensions. This is a new thing that they've just started doing, and all of us are excited, because it means if we miss anything in our first few looks, or even in the hours that we're on the wreck,
I believe I see your light pool or your shadow.
Again and again.
Yeah, I see you there.
After we've done that, we're then going to start looking
keep lateraling
in every area of this wreck to see what more we can learn. Now, with all
straighten out now.
Coming to a 045. Do you want me to lift up and get your camera view?
Yeah, you can change your camera now. Center me up.
Coming up.
Drive it well.
Take a look and see what it is and try to figure out when it went down.
I have you there at 70 degrees.
So I chose that 315 so that I would cut hard over into your screen as you were coming around, so that you'd find me around exactly where you found me. So, all right, if you want to adjust your altitude to get into standard configuration, you may.
Do you want me to come down?
Yeah, if you'd like to come down, you may.
Not only to our survival as humans because of the food they provide or the oxygen they generate, but also because
I'll come down until you're in 45 degrees.
By which we have moved across the planet as humans, and indeed, for all of us in the United States, a reminder that the oceans not only were, but they remain a key part of our ocean commerce. Thriving communities rely on shipping, and to this day, more than 90% of the world's goods that we all use to consume come to the United States by water. Back to you, Okeanos.
Thanks so much, Jim.
I'm going to try to get my Z-bias in,
so,
even though we're going to be in auto.
As Jim mentioned, we're going to be doing the photogrammetry at the morning. So for folks on the line, not on the line, folks at home, if you're listening, you can use our social media channels to ask us questions. It's a great time to get some fun, exciting fun facts from our archaeology team, and we'll put them right there. So oceanexplorer.noaa.gov is our website, and our Facebook channels. Adrian, would you mind telling what our handles are where they can ask questions?
Yes. So if you go to our Facebook, you can access it from the website that Casey just mentioned, or you can go to Facebook, and we're NOAA's Office of Ocean
Video, let's go ahead and get in here. Let's get a practice check.
Ocean
Let's go on this object, even though it's not man-made.
And then we also are on Twitter. You can also access this from the website, but if you do not have our website up, then you can go to twitter.com/oceanexplorer.
Thank you, Adrian.
And we'll be taking questions all day. Bye.
All right. Any other questions or things that folks want to talk about today's dive?
Co-pilot, you can start bringing swing arms out.
Copy that.
Okeanos, this is Jack. I heard that we had a geologist on board. I was wondering if we could get a brief rundown of what the bottom type sediments might be in this area.
Let's come wide video when you're ready.
Sure, thanks. This is Leslie
I didn't
Sauter.
hear. Are you happy with all this stuff over there?
So it looks like we have a fine grain, probably a calcareous ooze, which is fine grain.
I still can't hear you.
Microfossils from organisms that live at the sea surface. It looks very homogeneous.
Has to be turned
There's probably some mud also, which is
okay.
Just
fine grain clay particles
be deployed
until we get a sample. We wouldn't actually know what the finest material is. You can't tell that without the aid of a microscope. But
make it a little easier for
very
you.
flat, obviously, probably very slow sedimentation, and we're seeing burrows. We've seen these at similar depths near to this site in our earlier dives. And I don't know if these are the same kinds of burrows. We'd have to see which organism made them, but they look a little narrower than the ones that are made by heart urchins. But those are characteristic features you're seeing of burrowing, grazing organisms.
So, Bobby, I've got you at 50
but other
meters.
than that, there's not much evidence of strong currents, and we would see ripples on the surface if it were strong currents.
Hi, this is Scott. Do you have any data on the sedimentation rates in the general area?
I don't. I'm not aware of that. There may be from core work that has been done out here. I would suggest maybe we could find someone from the U.S. Geological Survey who might know that. They've done a lot of work on the Blake Plateau region, but I don't know specifically about
just for your guys' awareness,
they would be very slow here.
I expect the ship would drift toward the southeast
shore
at about 0.2 or 0.3 knots.
Terrigenous input here that we normally get closer to shore. So
said earlier,
this material is falling from
very flat
the seawater above it instead of coming from the land.
I think if we get up 50 meters from where we're at now, we'd be fine.
So it's very slow.
Given the terrain in the surrounding area.
A few centimeters per 1,000 years. So very slow rate.
Let's work with video. Dan, does this look?
Thank you for that.
Standard. We have our lowers 45.
Scott Harris from the College of Charleston is also, I believe, online. He's a marine archaeologist, so he knows
pretty good.
Perhaps more about
looks like maybe
this area
the starboard
than I do
lower come
rates.
down just a hair more.
So he might be able to chime in verbally or on the chat room to help you out with that question.
Though on flatter, I found that on flatter terrain,
people joining us
having the uppers in a little bit, like having them all the way out when there's a slope, helps spread out the light. But when it's flatter, you kind of do want to focus it more, because look how like blue and green and kind of.
You call it. My camera's definitely down right now.
So stow them a little bit.
Yeah, why don't you stow them part of the way and see if you can even out the light.
All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us this morning. We're on bottom, and let's go ahead and find some new history.
All right. I think I'm dialed in.
Nice.
Our swing arms are out and ready.
You ready for a move?
Yeah, I'm going to go into auto altitude.
Okay. So from Sirius, I'm showing waypoint 2 at a bearing of 050 at 125 meters. So should we just do like a 0.2 50-meter move?
Sounds good.
At 050?
Copy that.
All right, I'm standing by for 050, co-pilot.
Yep. Spin around.
Bridge, this is RV Nav.
Go ahead, RV Nav.
Yeah, we'd like to put in our first ship move, please.
First ship move.
We'd like to go 50 meters. That's 50 meters. Bearing 050. Speed decimal 2 knots.
Okay, that's 50 meters, 50. Bearing 050. Speed decimal 2.
That's a good copy.
Okay, I am at 050.
ROV Nav, bridge
Hi, did
move
we just have
initiated.
another person join us?
Getting bounced around a bit.
This is Scott Harris from the College of Charleston.
I thought it might be. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning, Leslie. How are you today?
Okay.
We're doing great
I'm going to
here.
come up a
Thanks.
little
When you
bit.
first said that, I was like, what
Looking forward
am I
to seeing
forgetting? Oh
this
boy.
wreck site.
There it is. Video, we're
Did you
waiting
have
on
more you wanted to add to the
we're waiting on some
general
tethers. So let's go
geology
on
of
this
this
star.
area? Or of the seafloor
here.
sediments,
I couldn't
really?
hear well. I was not on the phone, and there was a lot of crosstalk. A
Oh,
lot louder than y'all are, so I couldn't hear any of the questions were answered.
oh dear. Well, I was saying that it's likely a calcareous material of silt and sand size, fine grain material, mostly falling through the water
Yeah, we're
column
gonna have to
that
keep our
we
eyes
refer
peeled.
to as pelagic
I think it's gonna be
sedimentation.
a somewhat tough one to find.
come
It's
wide
Not
very
nearly
flat,
as
that, and I'm
interesting to
kinda
most
bouncy.
viewers as the
Okay.
brittle star, in our view, but of great importance to us.
Watch leads, pilot.
Well, the brittle star will.
Wanted to let you know that the vehicles are all set up. We got our swing arms out, and we're all dialed in. We currently have a ship move underway, and we're heading towards where we think the site is located. So as we're waiting for this tether, we're doing a quick a couple quick bio zooms, but we are definitely heading towards man-made, hopefully.
It's really nice to see all of the trace fossils, the track marks along the bottom.
Actually, while we got some time, Bobby, do you want to try tilting Zeus all the way down? And
Yes, these don't look
just
as
make sure that
broad
still
as the
behind,
hard
yeah.
urchin
Yeah,
trace fossils.
it's just a little bit of a lip there.
I mean, it's
fine.
just an observation. Who knows what makes these? Maybe just smaller, hard urchins.
And then you want to try hitting the fog lights on?
Yeah, and we did try to poke in the end of one of these trails to hopefully find the organism, and we didn't. But somebody pointed out that we might have been on the wrong end of the trail.
Taking me southeast.
We didn't have time to go find the other end of the trail, so we did our best.
But it is
50-50 chance.
It is good to have that comparison because this is very similar to what we've seen other places anyway. So.
Yeah. Well, I
And
think
just
if you come down in
very
altitude
low velocity
to like half a meter,
interference, certainly right now it is.
just curious how
That's
it looks.
not gonna change how much is hitting the drawer.
And by the way, the pilots are set up, and they are going to start moving towards the wreck area.
It's fine that some of it's hitting the drawer. I just wanted to make sure that that what Zeus is focused on right now is illuminated.
It does. It's
which
so
it looks
big
pretty good.
It looks like
everything. It looks monstrous.
One of them is down and the other is up to kind
boomerang,
of make it
or
a little different on each
pecari
side.
has that,
so that looks pretty
longer, and that's why they call it boomerang. It kind of looks like a boomerang, but that would be a chemosynthetic organism. And I guess that's why the Alvin dive that found this wreck was here, because they were studying chemosynthetic communities in the area.
Oh, it's coming off?
Yeah.
Meaning methane seeps, gases coming out of the seawater, and the organisms that live in those environments rely on chemical reactions in order to have the bacterial communities grow and
we adjust
become
them
their
so that the
primary food source.
I think the
as opposed to
starboard one is low,
so
tilted low.
these areas
the port one is tilted up a little bit.
Several
And then they're actually, we tilted them both inboard a bit so that they cross, so you get a little bit of cross lighting instead of just like focused on one spot.
Them. Go ahead. I believe it should be. Video, did you hear that?
No.
There's a request to get sonar on camera feed 3.
It is up.
Thank you. All right, I'm just going to start trying to mow the lawn here.
And Jim, for our viewers at home, what kind of relief do we expect to see on this site? This is not going to be a very obvious giant ship's hull poking out of the sediment. Am I correct with that?
You are correct. What we likely will see is a very slight mound, which is going to be everything from the upper parts of the ship that hasn't been eaten by marine organisms. So the remains of the metal fastenings, maybe a little bit of wood, scattered artifacts inside. The highest feature, most likely we'll see, is going to be a small pile of bricks, which we suspect may be what's left of the ship's galley, where the meals were prepared.
Interesting.
Starting to go up to port.
Yep, swinging back around.
And so our plan is to do a very slow and careful sort of mowing the lawn with our video above this wreck site so that we can use frame grabs from the video to mosaic together a high-resolution image of the entire wreck, and that is critical for understanding the original placement. We don't want to disturb this wreck in any way. There's another of those mussel shells, or bivalve shells. And what we've seen on our previous dives is where we have broad expanses of sediment like this, we see very few organisms. We certainly don't see high densities of them, but we do see them. They are adapted to this environment, probably lower resources of food or even habitat for protection, but they have found a way to survive here. Yep. And as soon as we see a hard surface, either a dead organism's shell or even sunken sargassum, which is a seaweed that lives at the surface, but when it settles to the seafloor in this environment, that is something to which organisms can attach. And certainly if there's a rock anywhere, it will be densely populated with organisms.
Yeah, the auto heading's having a
doubt we'll see any rocks here, but we might see organisms attached to some of these remains of the sunken vessel. I don't think there's any question that we'll see organisms.
Thanks, Bridge. Stand by. We're probably going to put another one in.
Okay, Roger. At this time, I would like to adjust my
we
heading.
Certainly don't want to disturb the sediment.
Copy, yeah, go ahead and do that now.
Okay, thanks.
The ship's going to adjust their heading, and I'll put in a move as soon as they're done with that.
Copy that.
And we will certainly not be collecting anything to examine.
They're around the A-frame, though, correct?
In any detail.
Yes, they're about the A-frame. I'll just make it another 50 meters, 050.
Gotcha. I'm looking down at you at 50 degrees.
Hi, Casey. This is Scott Sorso from Bohm. I thought it might be worthwhile to briefly mention kind of our agency missions as resource managers and help kind of give an overview of how this helps us programmatically.
That would be wonderful.
Both the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management and the Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement have missions that specifically...
Can you do anything to light up the distance video?
Protect from oil and gas activities from the OCS, and including marine mineral extraction, like you see on beach renourishment projects along the coastline.
Sirius has
when we have the opportunity to investigate these
looks like there's
little known or unknown targets, it really helps us to either open up areas for extraction or further restrict and ensure protection of these sensitive resources. Once a resource like this has been impacted, we can't create another one. It doesn't grow back. And so we try to ensure the protection of these resources from the broad array of activities that occur offshore within our purview.
Seen some
little
holes
there.
In D2.
And Scott, can you tell us a little bit about what you do with these orthophotos that we are collecting? You've done some amazing work recently, I know.
One of the fundamental tenets in terrestrial archaeology or archaeology around the world is to create first sketch maps or reconnaissance level mapping work of the extent of any particular archaeological site you visit.
It's not big, though.
One of the challenges in marine archaeology is, of course, the extreme cost, the time availability, and as you all know, diving to these depths is equivalent to like trying to fly into outer space. It's just inner space. So maximizing the time and effort we have on the seafloor is critical to ensuring that the scientific data we produce is reusable, revisitable, and Okeanos Explorer and the partners at GFOE are, of course, providing us with extraordinary data that we wouldn't have otherwise. So thank you very much for providing that availability. But if we collect video very carefully with a product in mind to create a map, not only in 2 dimensions but 3 dimensions, we can leverage modern processing power and modern photo alignment systems to be able to create maps with light. And of course, you know that's a challenge when the only light we're bringing is the light, that we brought with us, because the sun doesn't penetrate to these depths. So we've been working hard to leverage the availability of your vessels and your expert pilots to help us to produce things that would never have been possible before. These maps allow the archaeologists to come time and again, analyze this data, be able to measure it, and if we ever come back, we could produce the exact same model again and be able to measure change over time of that site. As you know, many marine organisms and others like to affect these sites. They accelerate or help to preserve, in some cases, the remains of these wrecks. And understanding how they're being affected by these what we call site formation processes helps us to understand the life scale, the lifespan of these different shipwrecks.
Yeah, we'd like to do another 50 meters. That's 50 meters, bearing 050, speed decimal 2 knots.
Okay, 50 meters, 50 meters, bearing 050, speed decimal 2.
Correct. Thanks.
And Scott, can these images be used to render 3D imagery?
What was that next move? What was the bearing?
050, same.
Yes, we produce 3D imagery. Some people call it photogrammetry or structure in motion.
ROV nav bridge move initiated.
Copy bridge, thanks.
If you have 3 or more views of the same item from different perspectives, you theoretically have the capability to produce a 3D model of that item. Of course, the quality and detail and so on has to do with a number of factors, but most importantly, it has to do with consistent lighting.
Would you like to adjust that?
And sharp focus from the camera,
I'm not sure we
which
need to
your team
adjust it.
has capabilities in
the only
that
stuff I'm
are bar
seeing
none
is
probably the best in the world.
Quite in line, but I'm not sure this is.
So we are able to produce all sorts of 3D models, and we're trying to go back in time and produce these same models, but of wreck sites we had visited in the past that hadn't been specifically collected for these 3D models.
From our
and we're having limited success because we really need them collected in this very specific way in order to pull these. For right now, all these models that we've been working on are being stored online on a website called sketchfab.com. And if you search for BOEM, B-O-E-M, or NOAA, a lot of these models will come up, and you'll easily be able to view the different sites that we visited, like the ones back on the EX17 cruise for 15377. There's been some initial work on the Monterey wrecks that's available, as well as portions of the New Hope shipwreck from the previous EX cruise in the Gulf of Mexico, as well as another wreck called the Thunderhawk. So I encourage you guys to follow along, come online and view, and soon our agency will have a website up featuring these sorts of things. So I want to thank the crew again for making the time and effort to make this data available
Alvin
to all the different researchers that have interest in these archaeological sites.
I'm not sure.
Thanks very much.
Coming back to get in line.
Copy that.
We're seeing these little white mounds, little clusters of like shell material next to a mound, which the mound would indicate a burrow. So some organisms are collecting maybe the bivalves and other mollusks that live in the substrate, casting off their shells. Hard to say at that.
Yeah, there's also some of these clusters of shells that don't have mounds, so that could be some. I don't know of a seep organism that looks more like a clam, like that. Those shells, but there could also be some kind of seepage.
And we've seen several shells or tests of the heart urchin, which was the organism we were suspecting of leaving these trails in the sediment. So seeing their remains is probably indicating that they were also the ones generating these traces.
I have you there at 40 degrees.
Roger.
And Jim, earlier when you asked about sedimentation rate, the very deep sea is on the scale of millimeters to per 1,000 years to maybe a few centimeters per 1,000 years. But I think more in this environment, it would be centimeters in hundreds of years. So I've thought about that for a minute after I said it. So, but still very, very slow and nothing like what we see on the continental margin closer to shore. We're on the very outside edge.
You can come down more on this flat terrain.
Water depths, over 2,000 meters. So
15's fine.
We're not receiving that input from the land here.
Go ahead. Sure. Oh, today's good. Right now it's a great time. Hello on shore, this is your front row speaking. We're taking a moment to introduce ourselves. Sitting pilot, Bobby Moore.
Dan Rogers on nav.
Lars Murphy on co-pilot.
Bob Knott on video.
And in the video clipping chair, I'm Emily Narrow, and we're all with the Global Foundation for Ocean Exploration.
Maybe something ahead of D2 at 50 meters, which is about what we expect with the target.
We've seen several sea stars and living urchins. Those are not the heart urchins that you see on the surface.
They're 20 meters to go on the ship.
Do we know what genus those belong to?
Looks promising.
There's something out there that doesn't look like its neighbors.
That's about right
40 meters.
Where we would expect it. Yep.
And I see that we have the South Carolina Aquarium watching us today. Daniel Wagner, who is with OER, is hosting the live interaction. So shout out to South Carolina Aquarium viewers. If you stay with us, you'll get your first glimpse, and OER's first glimpse, and the world's first glimpse of a 19th century shipwreck of unknown name and origin.
So the heart urchins are spatin-goid urchins, and that's as far as we got without having an actual animal to look at. So.
All right, pushing out.
Copy that. Should have quite a bit of tether.
Not too much.
Not too much, but a couple meters worth.
And one of the other organisms that we've seen a few of are brisingid sea stars, that there are two different families within the group, and the one that will lay on this soft sediment type of habitat and collect food from the water column are the phryalids.
It was about done, so maybe put in another.
The shipwreck was first found
30 meters
and identified as a shipwreck
by
the Woods Hole Oceanographic
37
Institution.
At still 050.
On Cape Cod.
ROV now, bridge move complete.
2015, during an expedition using the Alvin submersible, and they were on the seafloor to study methane seeps that are in the area.
040,
and they were using side scan
right
sonar from their vessel.
Okay.
And we have talked many times, if you've visited
let's go
dives
040
in
for our next
days, about multi-beam sonar. That is sonar.
Start with 30 meters.
The pulses of sound are emitted from the ship
Bridge,
and bounce
RV
off the sea floor.
Go ahead, RV
And
now.
even though we are able to get very detailed
We're going to go
maps,
30 meters. It's 30 meters, bearing 040, speed decimal 2 knots.
Okay, 30 meters, bearing
particular
040,
small,
speed decimal 2.
low relief shipwreck. Instead, it was discovered using a different type of sonar called side scan sonar. And that type of sonar, it's the same idea in terms of emission of sound pulses or acoustic data, but instead of mapping seawater depths, the sound reflects or bounces off of different objects wherever it is scanning and returns to the receiver and records a signal in terms of its intensity and its distance from the emission from the transducer.
Which one?
And so instead of getting water depths, you get a black and white imagery that you can kind of think of it the same way you think of light. If you shine a flashlight, you hit an object, you get a bright return. And beyond that object would be a shadow where there is no light. And the same thing happens with sound from a side scan sonar. So shadows appear where an object has obstructed the path of that sound. So you get
with a
little bump
what we call an acoustic image of the seabed. And in doing that, unknown to the Alvin pilot and crew, that they were going to come across evidence for a shipwreck.
25 meters out.
They had enough time to go explore it briefly and take a few snapshots of it, and that's what has led to this expedition. And I know the entire community is very grateful to Dr. Cindy Vandover's team, who was on that mission, and Woods Hole for alerting the community to this find and
25
allowing
meters.
This expedition to go explore it in greater detail.
$15 meters out of tether. Come in here.
Coming up with something.
Not much of a defined shape.
This view of the seafloor is
that the pile of bricks?
Scientists and mariners assumed the entire seabed looked
so I
like
bumped it up to ultra
flat,
just to
featureless plain.
see what we get.
Well, of course, they thought it was also devoid of life, which, of course, we know much better now.
One more pass.
But it also
like
is not flat,
additional
featureless.
tether.
If you've been watching any of our
yeah,
dives,
so there appears
there
to be
are
something
certainly
off.
segments
Maybe that's
that
the
would fit that description.
Anchor.
Being one of them.
Appears to be something off target. All right, push it forward.
Looks like there's a scrape or something up there to your starboard. Looks man-made.
That looks like an Alvin, Alvin Traco.
I don't know what the bottom of Alvin looks like. Okay. Turn to port, back towards the target.
Copy that.
Follow this in.
We're not alone. Oh, hi, this is Bernie from
looks like
from
bricks.
Dublin. That looks like our march phone we set down.
I think we have it.
When we were in Alvin in 2015.
Glad to have you online with us.
All right.
Didn't realize
video.
we had
Let's
one
lose
of
the
people
skids.
from that expedition.
Yeah, that's excellent. If you can help us, Alvin, guys, in regards to orientation, we must be pretty close to the wreck.
Yeah, you're approaching the bricks right now. That's the pile of bricks, and that's I think that's on the aft end of the ship.
Roger that. We see the bricks.
There's also a jug there.
I think we'll have to orient ourselves.
ROV 9 Bridge, that move is complete.
Copy, Bridge, thanks.
To the left, you'll sort of see
that move is complete. Should I give you a little bit of a move to get seriously closer to V2?
We got 2,000 meters, I would say. Let it settle
Yeah, roger
out.
that.
Okay, copy.
What do you think?
Could give you like 10 meters just so you have a little more range to the
Yeah.
side.
So,
if you want.
Bohm team.
I don't see
what
any.
do you say we make a quick
hazards, so I think we can come closer.
Okay. Good
area of the
pilot.
wreck, and then commence the map.
Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's let the pilots set up the grid they need, and then come back based on where they'd like to start.
Do like a 030 or something.
Can
what
you
can begin to see
turn
here
to port
is that essentially
just a little bit? I just want to look out to my left.
Here, you essentially have
and we're just kind of looking out into the distance to see if there's anything going to surprise us.
Just above
like one more move, please.
Okay.
10 meters. That's 10 meters, bearing 030, speed decimal 2.
10 meters, bearing 030, speed decimal 2.
Scattered artifacts.
A little bit more to port. You're good there, sorry, that's me turning a little more to port.
Watching, this
you want me to line back up at 030?
As I come back that way,
ROV 9 Bridge, moving to share.
So I don't see anything that way, nothing on sonar. We're coming back to starboard.
When organisms have removed most traces of the wood, other than that which would be buried beneath the sediment, leaving only the artifacts, either metal, ceramics, or glass.
I'm going to lateral to starboard as I come around. You can
when you
realign.
Approach a site like this,
setting up at 030.
What you're seeing, other than the open expanse of the sea,
Den looks like he's Sirius is getting in a pretty good position. What do you think?
Yeah, I was thinking if we can get in a position where you can do a full perimeter. You think you'd be able to do that from here?
Come down, okay.
Where the ship may have come from.
No, I think the move's fine. I just wanted to.
Before we do anything, what the ROV team is going to do is circle around and define the area, the perimeter of the wreck, as Scott from Bohm said.
Yeah, this is nice and flat. This would be great for the.
And then we will commence the survey. For those of you also just joining us, think of us as an underwater CSI team. The archaeologists on the watch here are going to be looking, not touching, carefully photographing, thanks to the team from NOAA's Okeanos Explorer and the Global Foundation for Ocean Exploration.
Do we have an idea where the change is in relation to this?
You can always go back to take a look at it.
There's a fuzzy dot here,
okay,
and then it's not. It doesn't really indicate which side.
Yeah, which side? Okay.
We're getting a small reading on Sirius.
Oh, yeah.
Off to the starboard.
Look on this one here.
Yep. All right, this is going to be a turn to starboard. So this looks like the other end, the other extent.
Do you want me to follow you around?
I think you're all right. If you want to come a few degrees, you may.
Yeah, no good indication.
Roger.
And it looks like, just on the sonar image, it looks like it might even be a little bit buried, just coming off of the wreck, and then it protrudes further out, like 100 feet out.
Yeah, nothing real discernible on D2's sonar. There's kind of a line here, but maybe I'm just making things up with my eyes.
Copy, Bridge, thanks.
So,
move is complete.
All right, I'm going to come back left, turn into the port, face the wreck.
I'll return to 030.
Roger. And I'm going to push in, and we're going to kind of come up the other side.
Copy that.
I'm going to swing out over this corner object.
So is this...
I see something out there. I think there's the chain.
Yeah, you're right. Yep. So that would be...
yeah, and I think I'm seeing it on sonar as well. A line there, kind of hooking up.
It looks like a great deal of the marine organisms have really broken down a lot of the remains of the hull that were still present on the screen.
This is Bernie again from Ireland. When we discovered the wreck, and we
you can see it in the Sirius view as well.
Over the middle of the debris field, you could see several stacks of ballast stones, and that was quite interesting. And you can sort of follow those to the end, and maybe still see what we thought was the outline of the bow of the ship at the far end. As you come upon some of these ballast stone stacks, you'll be able to see clearly as far as the ship is going towards the bow.
Here's the chain.
Nice. Bernie, any indication of markings on the bricks?
No, we did not see any. You're coming up here right now on the chain.
Anchor chain.
Yes, and this is what led us to the wreckage. But we didn't see any markings on the bricks as far as the ones we were looking directly at. But we, spent just a little bit of time here. We had a lot of things to do that day. We were still looking for a lost mooring that with some instrumentation on it that we had.
Continues to go off over there. I might just be seeing things, but I can see out to like 50 meters or so.
I believe the anchor
all right, I'm going to turn back towards the wreck, and Dan, I think I don't observe any hazards, so I think...
do you want to do a perimeter survey first?
We didn't look very carefully. We just
get a size of
was not a mooring.
I think we pretty much got it, unless we want to chase this chain. When we went up port side, or left side, all the way to the front.
Okay. Let me check with watch leads.
And then we just hooked around the back, so I think we're...
Watch lead, this is Nav.
I'm going to move forward over this chain, see if I can get to the front of this angle.
We were just wondering if you'd prefer to do like a full perimeter survey, just go around the whole wreck once, just to get an idea of size and length and contents, or do you want to just go right into the photogrammetry?
Coming down with the camera.
Roger.
It may not have been secured to the deck, or if these guys were driving along in a storm, they may have tried to lower the anchor.
All right, I'll just keep coming up this side.
Even as a sea anchor, maybe
right there at 80 meters.
Who knows?
Roger. 80 degrees.
The anchor is buried.
Got some bottles.
Can
tilt down a little.
Water is far too deep. It could have been that it came loose as they were sinking.
Get that corner skid, please,
I guess we'll know more. The glass bottle.
Thank you.
Would you like me to continue following you around?
Yeah, just follow me around at this point. You shouldn't be moving too much. So just kind of follow me around and adjust your camera to keep me in.
Sort of midships.
Copy that.
Make sure I'm not going to run into anything.
Are you still comfortable with the Delta 15?
With you over it, why don't you come up some?
Yep, coming up.
We don't want your pressure wave with the
Camera
ups and downs to affect the bottom.
Sirius looking down onto the ROV.
So just a few meters. Yeah, probably 20.
See more of the wreck at one point. It's interesting view to switch back and forth between this and camera 2.
So I might just be imagining it, but this sort of looks like a pointy end.
And I'm sure the rest of the archaeology team is
it looks like the bow right there.
You're seeing in the artifact field here, variety of
it's not very long, is it?
You just saw the bottles. You're going to be seeing instruments pretty soon, too.
Backing a little.
Copy that.
You notice the relief here in and around.
So I'm estimating 22 meters.
The brick pile.
Yeah, it's
in the area.
60 feet. Is that?
I think they said they had a 40 feet,
really
roughly.
This kind of elevation.
And we can get some sonar views as well.
Yeah.
Cameras.
Okay, I'm going to turn to right, check to see if there's anything out
there. This wreck site appears to be a little more evenly spread out in its debris than some of the sites that we have in the Gulf.
Bernie, is this what you were describing as you thought was the bow?
I'm looking at this right now. I'm just on a 2 or 3 second delay here, trying to catch the video. Where's the brick
object over here?
We were just looking at
it actually looked like the ballast pile.
Well, actually, if
Look at this fitting with the black fish. That actually could be, we might be at the stern. That looks like it could be a gudgeon.
It's a gudgeon, I think.
Yeah. So if that's the case, we're at the stern. It sure does look like a gudgeon. For those of you watching on shore,
oil barrel.
Those of us ship archaeologists,
video. Let's get a quick snap. See what this is. If it's of concern at all.
It's a gudgeon is part of the assembly that goes to make
5-gallon bucket. Okay, we can come wide.
It's a strap with a hole in it, and on another strap with a pin on it.
Nothing to be concerned of there.
And that's where the rudder would hang. And
coming back around to port.
On the stern of the ship. So that's one of those things that we look at to help us figure out which end is which. And with this looking like a gudgeon, we figure that we're at the back end of the stern of the ship. And here we're coming up on what looks to be modern trash.
So actually, where Sirius is now, we might be able to do the whole length at a tether, right? That's great.
So
that was a good positioning now.
This is back up at this end.
So we're looking like it's running like northeast to southwest. It's kind of just like I have it on high pack here.
Yep.
Running that way.
Okay, coming back to port. Current's definitely coming from right to left. Our fish is showing us that. Tilting down. Is it? What is that in the background?
It's a large fish.
Okay.
Is it a chimera?
I was going to say, I think this thing is moving, whatever
that is definitely a gudgeon. So this is a
just going to keep coming to port, tilting down a little. Pushing in slightly. Chains underneath me.
Yep. Yeah, Nav, it looks like it runs perpendicular to 207.
We're just going to take a moment here to look at this video. If you want to go partial, get some highlights for our video team.
Can we get an estimation off the sector scanning sonar if there is enough relief from the ROV to give us a fair estimate of the overall size, maybe length and beam estimate?
Gotta take lasers
Copy
off.
that, Pobby.
Okay. All right, let them go video.
Yeah, watch leads. We'll try to get an estimate of the size based on the sonar here.
Are we wide again?
The pilots are going to try to get an estimate of the size based on the sonar now.
So continuing down, chain is underneath me.
Chain slightly to your starboard side now.
Yep. Continuing.
Would you like lasers on or off in this?
Once the leave them on for now, just so they have scale. Once we begin the photogrammetry, we'll take them off.
You can see this stoneware jug and the instrument to the right of the phaser.
So I'm going to come to this end, Dan, and turn right 90 and point right at it. So you could probably even narrow.
Roger that. Is everybody seeing the traces of the timbers there? Just by the bottles.
What do you think, like 120 or something?
Yeah, just to.
Or 100?
It's enough.
Yeah, why don't you start it a little bit faster now so I can get lined up, and then I'll go in autos.
Right above the stoneware jug. The Alvin team spotted that, gave us a really nice picture of it back in the day when they did their dive.
Okay, I'm going to decrease my altitude a little.
When we first spotted a piece of an instrument, that was the most amazing thing that we could see.
Gonna hold right
out
here.
of all the images we grabbed at first, because the fact that it was made, I assume it was made of wood, and that it had persisted despite everything else being broken down. I was assuming it was made of ebony wood or something, something very resistant to the marine worms and clams.
Yes, that's
they generally made those out of ebony.
Starboard side, right?
Coming down a little bit more. Yeah, I'm going to cheat to starboard just a little to give you the chain. Coming down. Why don't you bring our range in?
There's not much relief here in the forward part of the ship, is there?
So they're calling this forward, I think, Dan.
They are. This is the bow?
Yeah, I think that was... If I heard correctly, there was something that looked like a steering or motor or something at the other end.
So I'll just say bow.
Coming down a little bit more.
Question mark.
You want me to back up? Maybe I should back up a meter. Let's try that. Get it out of the shadows. Get it in the slant range.
So the chain was almost, off the other end. Maybe there's a few meters beyond it on the other side, right? Like you saw where the chain was intersecting the wreck, and then the point was just a little bit further than that.
Yeah.
So if this
the chain was midpoint.
So 30 is kind of the chain.
ROV team, you are in the area of the bow, but we don't think you are right at the bow. It may be a very faint trace, but what we would like to try to do is establish where that tip of the bow is. You've got a sort of a box-like outline structure there, and as you continue to move, we're thinking that the bow would be ahead of you, and it may only be, again, a very faint trace in the mud of the buried structure.
So they think this is the bow.
Understood. This is the pilot speaking. At the moment, we are just trying to hold station and kind of get as close to the bottom as possible without touching, so that we can get some nice sonar scans for you of the wreck.
Roger that.
We've increased our resolution on the scanning sonar highly to the highest level. Get a few scans, and then if you want to drive us via the lasers towards the point that you're thinking is the bow, we will head that way.
So
copy that and thank you.
It's looking like it's maybe at about,
you can
8 or 9
almost
meters
follow
ahead
the
of
line
you.
of that mound.
So 22 meters to the chain, and then a few meters beyond that to the other end.
Towards the
why don't you come out on range again?
Sure. Twist in that.
I wasn't getting any returns beyond that.
You weren't? Oh, okay.
Slightly on its port side, maybe.
You want to go ultra as well?
Sure.
There we go.
That could be the case.
All right, I'm at 1 meter off bottom.
As soon as we've got all of this,
down a little bit more.
You've got the archaeological con. You should be driving with the pilot.
All right.
Yeah, it looks like about 20 meters on the sonar.
Let's get when this scan finishes, all the way to the right.
We just want to make sure the pilots are confident they're not going to snag on anything.
Let's get screen grab or something.
Or
I think we can save it right in the sonar program.
That we provided them to set up, like
maybe I'll
turning
just
off the lasers,
a
keeping consistent
snip.
distance.
I'm not sure how to do the other.
Yeah, exactly. Just let the scan get across, then you can pause it and do a snip.
So on.
Sure.
So they're going to use those protocols we gave them.
Looks good to me.
To basically maximize
so why don't you pause it, hit
our
the stop button on the left,
collect the data
far
we
left.
need to make this model.
Press record. So once it finishes its scan, yeah. There you go. That should stop it.
It did not.
Oh well. You'll just have to time your snip.
One of the things I was really happy with as a result of doing these 3D models was in the two-dimensional imagery we had in the past, it wasn't always immediately apparent.
All right, I'm going to come back up.
But there's a sand wave
nice
that appears
slow.
to be generated when a lot of these shipwrecks right themselves in the water and come to rest on the seabed. And you can sort of see this wave of displacement that occurs when it actually does hit the bottom. So a lot of these sites tend to have sort of a displacement effect that can be viewed in the 3D model, but you couldn't really notice, in previous 2D imagery. And so it really does help us understand how
correctly they said follow this mound,
and how these shipwreck sites come to rest and maybe settle in.
This is the pilot again. Which